The city glittered below our penthouse like a spilled treasure chest, a view that once felt like the pinnacle of a shared dream. Now it just looked cold. For 10 years, I lived inside a beautiful, perfect snow globe of a life, and I was the delicate figure at its center, frozen in a smile. My husband, Marcus Hale, was the king of our tiny, perfect world, charismatic, driven, the brilliant founder of Viridian Solutions. I was Elara, the supportive wife, the gracious hostess, the silent partner in every success story the newspapers wrote. Our love was the bedrock, they said, unshakable. But the strongest earthquakes always start with the smallest, almost imperceptible tremors. The first one was a text on his phone, left face up on the marble kitchen counter one rainy Tuesday evening. The name Lena flashed, his vivacious, fiercely intelligent business partner. The message preview read, "Can't wait for Friday. This changes everything." My breath caught, a sharp stitch in my side. When I asked him, voice light as air, he merely smiled, that same effortless smile that had charmed me a decade ago, and said it was just an investor meeting she was nervous about. "You know how Lena gets," he said, kissing my forehead. And I, like a fool desperate to believe in the story we had written, swallowed the doubt whole. I buried it. That was the beginning of the end, though I didn't know it then. That was the moment I chose silence over truth, and in doing so, I became the keeper of two secrets, the one he was living and the one I had buried in the deepest vault of my soul. A secret that would one day become the instrument of his ruin. The silence became a living thing in our home, growing in the spaces between our polite conversations and scheduled date nights. I became an archivist of his absences, a scholar of his excuses. Late at the office, last-minute client dinner, emergency board call. The more distant he grew, the harder I clung to the performance. Our 10th anniversary gala was my masterpiece of denial. A ballroom of 200 people saw a vision. Me in a silver gown, him in a tailored tuxedo, toasting a decade of love. But my eyes, trained only on him now, saw the truth. Across the room, he and Lena stood near the grand piano. They weren't touching, but the space between them crackled with a private understanding. The way she threw her head back laughing, her hand resting on his arm for a beat too long. It was a language of intimacy, fluent and secret. My oldest friend, Sarah, found me on the balcony, my smile shattered. "Everyone sees it, Elara," she whispered, her voice heavy with pity. "Everyone but you." Those words didn't spark anger. They ignited a cold, clear fury. This wasn't just a betrayal of the heart. It was a public humiliation, a demolition of the life I had meticulously curated. I walked back into the glittering fray, took Marcus's arm, and complimented Lena on her dress. The shock in her eyes was my first taste of a new power, the power of knowing. I wasn't ready to scream. I was ready to listen, to watch, to learn. The transformation was internal but absolute. I traded heartbreak for focus. I started noticing the financial whispers, the stress around the Singapore expansion, the mysterious new investors, the constant talk of liquidity. My father, a retired accountant, had muttered about Marcus's books not dancing right years ago. I dismissed it as old-school caution. Now his ghost haunted my thoughts. I needed to see the machinery of his kingdom, not just the polished throne. A casual visit to the Viridian offices led me to his young, anxious assistant, David. Over a coffee I poured with a steady hand, I offered sympathy for his heavy workload. It must be chaos, I sighed, managing both his business calendar and his personal one. David, eager to please, nodded vigorously. The business one is fine, it's the other one, the meetings at Cedar Grove, that's tricky to keep straight. He clamped his mouth shut, horror dawning. Cedar Grove Apartments, luxurious, discreet, a name that confirmed every sordid suspicion. I smiled, the perfect picture of benign understanding. "Don't worry, David, your secret is safe with me." And it was. because that secret was now a tool, but a mistress was a personal failure. I needed to understand the professional man, the king of the castle. What was he building with all this distance, all this secretive stress? My answer came from the past. Leo, the gruff, brilliant IT architect who built Viridian's first systems, a man Marcus had later discarded for being paranoid. I found him in a modest office, surrounded by humming servers. I didn't have to fake the tears this time. "I think Marcus is in trouble, Leo. I think he's done something bad." Leo, who always saw me as the soul Marcus lacked, agreed to help. He guided me, remotely, through a digital labyrinth on our home server to a hidden partition labeled Archives, Old Tax. What opened wasn't a file, it was a crime scene. A ledger meticulously detailed, mapping a river of money flowing out of Viridian. Millions siphoned from R&D and the company's charitable foundation, funneled through shell companies with hollow names like Marlin Holdings, only to disappear into accounts in Singapore and the Cayman Islands. The Singapore expansion was a sham, a glittering facade for theft. And there, entry after entry, were payments to L. Reed Consultancy. Lena wasn't just his lover, she was his accomplice in hollowing out the company. The betrayal was oceanic, drowning my personal hurt in a tsunami of disgust. He was a fraud, a parasite in a bespoke suit. Then my eyes locked on a single line from 8 years ago, a $500,000 transfer from our joint home equity line of credit to Silent Partner, LLC, dated 1 week after my father's fatal heart attack. The room tilted. My father had threatened to audit Marcus, to follow the money. A week later, he was gone. Stress, the doctor said, a tragic coincidence. Staring at that transaction, coincidence curdled into a horrifying, unthinkable suspicion. A sob caught in my throat, but I didn't let it out. I let it harden. This was bigger than a broken marriage. This was about a stolen life, a silenced father, and a kingdom built on graves. The sorrow in my heart turned to iron. The game was no longer about saving us. It was about burying him. But evidence on a screen is a ghost. I needed it to have weight, substance. I printed every page. The mechanical hum of the printer, the only sound in his sacred office. The stack of paper felt like a verdict in my hands. Yet, to use it, I had to understand the endgame. Why steal from your own empire? The answer, I discovered, was in the safety deposit box he thought I knew nothing about, a box under the name Silent Partner LLC. Using a key I found taped behind his old college diploma, I opened it. Inside were passports for him and Lena under new names, deeds to a secluded villa in Bali, and a single, faded handwritten contract from 10 years ago, detailing an initial secret investment in Viridian from my father, a sum that saved the company from collapse, a contract Marcus had sworn him to secrecy about, promising ownership shares that never materialized. My father wasn't just suspicious, he was a silenced stakeholder. Silent Partner. The name was a sick joke. My secret, the one I'd carried for a decade, was that I knew about this initial deal. My father told me on his deathbed, made me promise not to cause trouble, to be happy. I kept that promise. I kept his secret to preserve my peace. And in doing so, I had enabled the monster. The weight of my own complicity almost crushed me. I had been a willing prisoner in my gilded cage, polishing the bars my father helped pay for. The plan that formed then wasn't born of hot rage, but of glacial, calculated resolve. I would not confront him. I would not scream or cry. I would become the director of his downfall, and he would be the star, performing his own ruin. I reached back out to Leo. I gently leveraged David's guilt, turning his anxiety into a source of information. I began a subtle social campaign, a missed coffee date with a key investor's wife, where I expressed vague, worried concerns about Marcus's stress levels, a charitable committee meeting where I let slip, with heartbreaking reluctance, that the company's promised donation might be delayed due to internal audits. The whispers started, shifting from admiration to concern. Meanwhile, Leo and I worked in the digital shadows. We created a mirrored trail, making it seem as if the hidden ledger had been discovered by a diligent, anonymous whistleblower within Viridian's own audit department. We set the stage for a grand, public collapse. The venue chose itself, the annual Viridian Future Horizons Gala, the very event where Marcus would announce the final phase of the Singapore expansion to investors and press. The night arrived, a spectacle of hubris. Marcus took the podium, radiant with triumph. I sat in the front row, a vision of supportive grace. As he began his speech, painting visions of global domination, the large screens behind him flickered. His presentation vanished. In its place, line by damning line, pages of the hidden ledger appeared. Transfers, shell companies, the payments to Lena. A gasp ripped through the crowd. Marcus froze, his smile a death mask. "What is this? A hack! A malicious hack!" he stammered. That was my cue. I stood up, the click of my heels echoing in the sudden silence. I walked to the podium, not to him, but past him. I faced the crowd, my face a mask of pained dignity. "This is not a hack," I said, my voice clear and carrying, amplified by the microphone I took from his limp hand. "This is the truth. This is what my husband, Marcus Hale, has been doing to the company you believed in, to the people who worked for him." I turned to him, looking him dead in the eyes for the first time in years. "And Silent Partner LLC sends its regards." The color drained from his face. He knew I knew. He knew it was over. In that moment, he saw not his meek wife, but the ghost of the father he had betrayed, and the judge who had been sleeping beside him. Chaos erupted. Reporters surged. Investors shouted. Lena was seen fleeing out a service exit. I stood quietly amidst the storm I had orchestrated, the eye of the hurricane. The aftermath was a symphony of consequence. The SEC investigation was swift and brutal. The embezzlement charges stuck. The civil suits from shareholders buried him. Lena, to save herself, turned state's evidence, detailing their affair and the financial scheming in a plea deal. The perfect life shattered into a million irreparable pieces. His assets were frozen, his reputation became a punchline, his freedom was exchanged for a prison sentence. In the final divorce hearing, conducted amidst his legal maelstrom, I was awarded what was left, including the rights to the Viridian name and the recovered assets. I stood in the empty penthouse for the last time, the city still glittering below. The victory felt hollow, quiet. I had destroyed him, but I had also destroyed the woman I was, the silent, complicit keeper of secrets. The moral wasn't that revenge is sweet, it was that silence is a poison. My father's secret, born from love, and my own, born from fear, had allowed a tyrant to thrive. True justice wasn't in his destruction, but in my liberation from the need to hide the truth. I sold the penthouse. I used a portion of the recovered funds to establish the Silent Partner Foundation, providing legal aid for whistleblowers and victims of financial fraud. I started a small, genuine tech consultancy, building something transparent, brick by honest brick. The photograph over the fireplace is gone. The fortress of lies is dust. And from that dust, I am finally, quietly, building a home for just one. A home with no secrets, no shadows, and doors that are never, ever locked. The greatest revenge was not breaking him. It was finally, after all those years, setting myself free.